The year was 1863. As most people know, this was one of the lowest time periods for America. It was engaged in a dividing civil war that quite literally split the nation. It had slavery established in most of the South, and racism was abundant as the crops most of the blacks grew. It was a troubling time in America that would have lasting effects for generations to come. The 54th Regiment took a stand in history by exceeding most expectations for the whites in the Union, getting blacks equal pay for fighting and influencing the black population at the time and for many years to come.
About a month after President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, Massachusetts Governor and abolitionist John A. Andrew began to recruit members for the 54th Volunteer Infantry of the Civil War to help fight the Confederacy on February 9, 1863. To help recruit black men, both freed and enslaved, to the newfound regiment, newspapers and posters were posted up for black men to see about the new regiment around Massachusetts. In the first week, 72 men had already enlisted in the 54th Regiment. The recruits had met in Camp Meigs in Reedville, and in March, Governor Andrew recruited Colonel Robert Gould Shaw to train and command the soldiers.
There were many, but not enough for an entire regiment, so he continued searching to the north and south for recruits, and even searched for some as far up as Canada. By May 14th, Governor Andrew had recruited 1,000 black soldiers, along with a full enlistment of white officers. The regiment headed off to South Carolina to fight on May 28th, with 1,007 black soldiers and 37 white officers.
The regiment's first battle took place at James Island, South Carolina on July 16th. Major General David Hunter led 2 Union divisions under the direction of Brigadier General Henry Benham. General Hunter ordered General Benham not to engage in battle until more men could assist the units, but General Benham disobeyed Hunter's commands, which led the Union Army in defeat. Because of this turn of events, General Hunter relieved General Benham of command.
Their second battle took place in Morris Island, South Carolina, which is known as the Battle of Fort Wagner. On July 10th, General Quincy A. Gilmore sent his Federal soldiers to attack Morris Island in hopes of taking over Fort Wagner. His troops were brought a swift defeat from heavy artillery and gunfire. The next morning, he sent 3 undeterred regiments to give a better coordinated attack and planned a sea bombardment before that on the fort. Once this subsided, he sent the 54th Regiment along with 9 other regiments to perform a land assault on the fort, which unfortunately gave heavy losses to the Union. They were shredded by raining bullets and shells and eventually successfully made it over the fort walls, only to be defeated again in bloody hand-to-hand combat. They were all pushed and remained on the island until September 7th, when the Confederates eventually abandoned the fort. The Union suffered heavy loss, with the 54th Regiment suffering 1,515 casualties, or 42% of the entire regiment, and even the loss of Colonel Shaw, who died entering the fort.
Their third battle took place in Olustee, Florida, known as the Battle of Olustee, and it was part of a campaign led by General Gilmore. He was pushing Union troops on an expedition to the south and had a little conflict traveling down until they encountered 5,000 Confederate troops near Olustee. The Union attacked Confederates but were pushed back. The Union ended up fleeing, but thankfully the 54th only suffered 64 losses. The Confederates allowed the fleeing troops to escape to Jacksonville, but still won the battle with 946 casualties, while the Union suffered a total of 1,860.
The 54th Volunteer Regiment, like their white counterparts, did indeed receive a monthly pay. This was still unfair to the blacks who were involved in the volunteer infantry, because the black soldiers were paid $10 wage every month, while the white soldiers were paid an additional $3 monthly. This was disconcerting to many of the black soldiers because the soldiers were promised a $13 wage per month in recruitment advertisements. Neither black nor white members of the regiment agreed with these actions, as they all thought they deserved to be treated equally. The members of the regiment refused to receive pay until blacks and whites were treated equally.
The 54th Regiment was controversial to many people because they didn't feel that black men should be able to fight in a white man's war, quote unquote. The term white man's war is very interesting because although the Civil War was fought by mostly white men, the Civil War was also being fought for slaves by some. You would think that more black men would have been given the opportunity to enlist because they were fighting for their rights, both literally and figuratively. Overall, the 54th Regiment greatly influenced the black population due to their bravery and courageous acts during the Civil War. It also inspired other black regiments to be formed, such as the 55th Regiment. Thankfully, the 54th Regiment was celebrated throughout the streets of Boston because of their brave and courageous acts after the first battle.